This story begins with our female lead Chaeyen. She's a 17-year-old schoolgirl, innocent, simple, and totally clueless when it comes to makeup, grooming, or fashion. But despite all that, today she decides to go all out and look her best. She's got a plan. She's finally going to confess her feelings to her school crush and ask him out on a date. As she heads out to school, her aunt compliments her for looking especially good today since she styled her hair better than usual. The entire way to school, Chaeyen keeps rehearsing in her head how she'll talk to her crush. Just then, her friend Suki joins her. After a quick chat, Chaeyen, with a little push from Suki, finally gathers the courage to approach Gwa. Gwa is this super handsome, popular guy at school who everyone knows. Chaeyen, mustering all the bravery she can, confesses her feelings to him. But instead of a warm reply, Gwa dismisses her, saying, "Maybe you should focus on your appearance first," and just like that, he walks away. That moment shatters Chaeyen. All her confidence crumbles in an instant. She feels completely rejected, and the disappointment takes away any spark she had in life. She becomes uninterested in everything, especially love. That one incident gives her such an inferiority complex that she starts to believe that maybe she's just not cut out for love. Chaeyen starts spending most of her time at home. Gradually, she begins watching beauty consultant videos, reading books, and practicing with makeup products. Slowly, she gets better at it and becomes quite skilled. Fast forward to 2022. Chaeyen is now 29 years old. Not only has she transformed herself, but she also helps others with her expertise. She works as a beauty consultant now. Her personality has completely changed, and she's more confident than ever. But despite all the changes on the outside, the wound in her heart from the past is still there. Because of that, she promised herself she would never make the mistake of falling in love again. She's never had a boyfriend, and no guy has ever come into her life since. One day, her friend Suki invites her out for dinner. Suki has invited some other people too, and though Chaeyen doesn't really enjoy mingling with large groups, she agrees to go. The truth is, Chaeyen tends to keep to herself in social situations. She often remembers her past and the bullying she faced in school because of her appearance. The only person who was nice to her back then was Gwa. He was the only one who defended her against the others who used to tease her, but she never expected that one day he would break her heart and walk away. Later that evening, Chaeyen gets all dressed up and heads to the dinner party, excited for the night. But when she arrives, she realizes it's actually a matching party. Suki has invited a bunch of singles, all trying to mingle and connect with each other. Among the crowd is Suki's cousin, simple yet mysterious. Seeing her instantly takes Chaeyen back to her school days. As Chaeyen steps outside, a guy approaches her asking for her phone number. She gives it to him, but soon after, she overhears him talking about her. He's saying that before showing up at parties like this, she really should fix her appearance. Hearing those words feels like a punch to the gut. Chaeyen is devastated. All her old wounds from the past reopen, and she feels heartbroken once again. She turns to Suki and says, "Love's just not for me. Please don't invite me to these parties anymore." Suki finally understands Chaeyen still hasn't gotten over Gwa and that she hasn't been able to move on. Chaeyen comes home, crying her heart out to her bestie. She looks at an old photo of Gwa, and in a burst of emotion, she rips it up. The moment she tears it, something strange happens. It's as if she's been transported somewhere else, a sudden feeling that she's time traveling, and she's back in that moment in the past where everything felt different. As she looks at the photo, she's completely stunned. For a moment, she thinks she might be dreaming, but then she notices that Gwa is holding that same flip phone, the one that they used back in school. Suddenly, she wakes up and finds herself wearing glasses. Her room is set up like it was back in the day, and even her mom looks much younger. She's still in disbelief, thinking it's all just a dream, but she continues on. The next day, she gets ready in a way she's never done before, using all the makeup techniques she's learned. As she walks into school, everyone is stunned by her transformation. Chaeyen looks completely different now. Even Suki doesn't recognize her at first, but then Gwa, noticing her, says, "That's Chaeyen, right? She used to be the same, just with a little unusual dressing style, but she's always been beautiful." Cheyenne is confused. Why is this dream lasting so long? Is this really a dream or is it reality? She starts trying to smell things, touch them, and even taste them to make sure it's real. Just then, she trips, and Gawar catches her. The timing is perfect, and she falls right into his arms. As she's held by him, she's still unsure if it's real, so she checks if he feels like a dream. Then she asks, "What year is it?" Gawar tells her, "It's 2010. Suddenly it hits her. Could it be? Is time travel really possible? Has she truly gone back in time? To confirm, she starts asking people around her about the year and what's happening. Cheyenne tries to ask everyone around her, does anyone have superpowers? But no one takes her seriously. Her mom just thinks her questions are pointless. Cheyenne can't tell anyone what's really going on, so she quietly asks Suki, "Do you think time travel is real?" Suki mentions her cousin who's really into these things and even wrote a thesis on them. At that moment, Gawar walks up to Cheyenne and, to her surprise, says, "Good morning" to her. The attention from him makes Cheyenne feel shy, and she quickly runs away. The truth is, she never wanted to fall in love again. She was scared that one day Gawar would reject her again. In class, it's a whole different scene. The boys are all around her, in awe of her transformation. They can't believe how beautiful she's become. They ask, "Are you interested in me?" and similar questions, but Cheyenne just smiles and ignores them. Mentally, she's 29, and she sees them as kids. Later, Cheyenne goes to the library, pulling out 20 to 30 books related to time travel. She spends hours going through them, but they're full of complex physics she can't quite understand. Then she overhears Gawar talking to a girl. He's rejecting her, saying, "You're wearing way too much makeup." The girl walks away heartbroken after hearing Gawar's words. But Cheyenne, feeling deeply hurt, decides to go talk to Gawar. She tells him, "Why are you so rude when rejecting someone? You could have turned her down in a nicer way without bringing up her appearance." Gawar, realizing his mistake, explains, "Back in junior school, I liked a girl and we were really close, but she wasn't interested in being my girlfriend. So when I saw the girl just now, I didn't want to give her any false hope. I didn't want her to feel like she had a chance." Cheyenne, understanding Gawar's perspective, goes to comfort the girl who was hurt by his words. She teaches her how to embrace her features and do makeup in a way that enhances her beauty. She helps her refine her skills so that the makeup doesn't look overdone. Gawar, watching from a distance, notices all of this. Later, Gawar apologizes to Cheyenne for his behavior, saying, "I get it now. I was wrong." He also adds, "There are many other good guys out there, and you deserve someone even better than me." Cheyenne feels happy hearing this. She wonders if maybe Gawar rejected her because he really did see her as just a friend. Blushing, she starts to feel a little lighter. Gawar, noticing this, can't help but smile. At that moment, Suki walks in, and Gawar heads off with her since they both live in the same neighborhood. Cheyenne, still thinking about Gawar, casually asks Suki about him. Suki shares, "We've known each other since childhood. We even went to the same junior school." Now Cheyenne begins to piece everything together. She realizes that Gawar might have liked Suki all along and that he only sees her as a friend. Confused and a bit overwhelmed, Cheyenne doesn't know what to think anymore. Cheyenne had never seen things from this perspective before. She realized that Suki and Gawar might actually be perfect for each other. Later that evening, as Cheyenne is heading home, she bumps into Gawar on the way. At the same time, we see Suki visiting her cousin Karo, the same girl who was at the party earlier. Karo tells Suki that time traveling isn't illogical. Many people have done it. Not just time travel, but she also knows a lot about mysterious things and spells. Suki shows Karo Cheyenne's photo and asks her to read her love fortune. Karo encourages Gawar, telling him, "You should just propose to the girl you like. Give it a shot." But Gawar hesitates and asks, "What if I get rejected? Will you be there to console me?" Cheyenne, feeling even more confused, gets nervous seeing how close Gawar and Suki are. She decides to leave on Gawar's bike, needing some space to think. The next day, Cheyenne looks through Suki's diary and finds many photos of her and Gawar together, as well as pictures with other friends. By now, Cheyenne understands that Suki definitely likes Gawar. She realizes that she'll never be the third wheel in this equation and that she might be able to move on from her past wounds. Just then, Karo walks by, and Cheyenne talks to her about time travel. But Karo has an important task to complete and doesn't want to continue time traveling until she can truly heal from her emotional wounds. What happens next? Cheyenne remembers that the last time she went camping it brought back some unpleasant memories, mostly because of the awkward shopping her aunt had done for her. This time, she decides to go shopping on her own terms, and coincidentally, Gawar shows up there as well. Seeing him makes her feel a little self-conscious about her clothes, but it also brings her a sense of happiness. Slowly, Cheyenne has changed quite a bit. She's now a mature 29-year-old woman, and her reactions are always so on point that they leave everyone around her stunned. For instance, once when her friend Suki was being harassed by a guy, Cheyenne quickly threw water on him, leaving Suki very grateful. During their conversation, Suki casually mentions, "I've noticed something. The way you speak is so much like Gawar. Honestly, I think you two would make a perfect match." But Cheyenne, feeling nervous, replies, "I'm scared that if I open up to him, he'll just reject me." Gawar, who overhears the conversation, remains quiet. But Suki reassures Cheyenne, "Don't worry, I've got it all figured out." Suki had secretly asked her friend Karo to cast a love spell on Cheyenne and Gawar's photo. However, instead of love magic, Karo accidentally ends up using black magic. On the first day of camping, Cheyenne feels nervous again, recalling how Gawar had once refused to help her gather wood. But this time, Gawar comes to her aid. He confesses, "I'm here with you, not because of the firewood, but because I wanted to spend some time alone with you." Cheyenne slowly begins to realize that in her past life, Gawar had refused because the wood was too heavy for her to carry. As they continue to spend more time together, Cheyenne finds herself growing closer to Gawar, and they start to share many moments. As Cheyenne and Gawar continue to spend more time together, they start to understand each other better. One day, Gawar takes Cheyenne's hand, and for a moment, Cheyenne realizes that despite being 29 years old, she still finds herself uncontrollably drawn to him. When he gets close, she can't help but feel like she's falling for him all over again. The next day at the camping trip, Cheyenne wears the dress Gawar had chosen for her. Seeing her in it makes Gawar really happy, and he takes her aside to spend some quality time together. They have a picnic, enjoy the moment, and share meaningful conversations. However, during this time, Suki starts to feel left out. She notices that Cheyenne is not spending time with her but is instead always with Gawar. Suki becomes increasingly jealous and lonely, feeling as if she's being ignored. Feeling awkward, Suki decides to talk to Gawar about her feelings. She tells him, "Before Cheyenne, I was your friend. Now it seems like you're giving her more attention, and I feel like you're intentionally avoiding me." This makes Gawar reflect on his past. He recalls that back in junior school, he had tried to share his feelings with Suki, but she had rejected him, saying he felt like a brother to her. At that time, Suki hadn't fully understood, but now, seeing Cheyenne and Gawar together, she feels regretful. It seems as though she might have made the wrong decision back then. Later, Suki decides to confess her feelings to Gawar. She tells him, "I like you, Gawar. Would you date me?" She says, "I love you," hoping for a positive response. Just as Gawar is about to say yes, something strange begins to happen. Black magic seems to take effect, and Cheyenne feels an unsettling shift. Cheyenne begins to feel as though she's traveling through time. Realizing what's happening, she quickly stops Gawar from speaking as she doesn't want to return to the past. She begins to leave, but Gawar stops her, asking, "Did you just reject me? You once told me that if the person I love rejects me, you'd be there to console me." The camping trip ends, and they return to school. Cheyenne tries to avoid Gawar whenever she sees him, fearing that if she gets too close or starts dating him, she'll be pulled back into the past, and that's something she doesn't want. This life feels better to her. Confused and seeking answers, Cheyenne eventually goes to Karo. Karo tells her, using black magic and fortune-telling, that if Cheyenne and Gawar start dating, it would mean she's going back to the world from which she came. This news disturbs Cheyenne, and she tries to distance herself from Gawar even more, but she can't find peace. Finally gathering her courage, Cheyenne approaches Gawar and says, "Actually, we can't be together. There's a reason, but I can't tell you why. I hope you understand." Gawar looks at her and replies, "I understand. There must be something important that you can't share right now." They hold hands, and as they do, their class notices them. The news quickly spreads that they're dating. However, when Cheyenne hears this, she becomes angry. It feels like this news is pulling her back to the past. She stands up, yelling. Cheyenne becomes frustrated and declares that Gawar is not her boyfriend and that they are not dating. Her confusion and anxiety reach new heights as she feels she can't trust anyone anymore. In desperation, she goes to her best friend Suki and confides in her, explaining how she's actually 29 years old and she's time-traveled. Suki, equally troubled, takes Cheyenne to Karo to get more answers. Upon meeting Karo, they learn that instead of casting a love spell on Cheyenne's photo, Karo had placed a curse on it using black magic. This curse caused Cheyenne's confession to fail in the past, and if the curse were to be broken, Cheyenne's confession would succeed, sending her back to her original time. Karo's jealousy towards Cheyenne made her do this. Ever since Cheyenne came into Suki's life, Karo felt left out, as Cheyenne gave her less attention. She also felt Cheyenne, an ordinary girl like herself, didn't deserve someone as handsome as Gawar. After realizing all this, Cheyenne and Suki explain everything to Gawar, who listens in shock. Despite the situation, Gawar reassures Cheyenne, saying, "I trust you. Whatever you say, I know it's the truth. We'll figure out a solution together." Gawar believes that because they held hands and had that moment, it was the reason Cheyenne didn't time travel earlier. They both decide that they wouldn't announce anything or openly declare that they were going on dates. Instead, they agree to spend time together as friends. Things seem to be going well, but soon Cheyenne is approached by a classmate who asks her out on a date. This makes Gawar increasingly possessive, and he says, "This can't go on like this. How long are we just going to spend time like this? One day, you'll have to officially be mine." In the heat of the moment, he kisses her. Cheyenne is worried that such an intimate gesture might cause her to travel back in time. However, nothing happens, which makes her realize that the curse was only connected to her confession. They continue spending time together but never confess their feelings. One day, they visit an amusement park, a place that holds many precious memories for them. As time passes, things start to feel natural. But one day, Karo comes to Cheyenne and tells her, "What you're doing goes against nature. What I did was wrong, but because of you, people's lives are changing. You can't just think about yourself. You need to think about others and return to your own world." Cheyenne ponders deeply, and memories of the past flood back. She remembers how Gawar had left for another country to study. But this time, because of her, he was giving up that opportunity. This was not just affecting his career but also her own. Cheyenne makes up her mind. She would return to the world she came from. She explains everything to Gawar, but he can't bear it. In a rush, he runs to Cheyenne and demands the same photo they had taken together, asking for it back. Before anything else, Gawar tears the photo. And as he does so, they find themselves transported back to the moment when the photo was first taken. In that moment, they both decide what to do next. Gawar says that the photo shouldn't end up in Karo's hands, or else magic will be cast on it. However, Cheyenne, determined, responds, "Who are you to decide the course of my life? I've made up my mind. I'm going back. I can't keep playing this time travel game any longer." After their mutual agreement, the photo reaches Karo again, and once again, dark magic is cast on it. The scene shifts to Gawar and Cheyenne spending their last day together happily, enjoying their time. They go to a viewpoint where they talk about everything. Cheyenne, with a heartfelt smile, says, "My wish is that when I return to my world, I want to meet you again. I'll always love you." She confesses her feelings, and as soon as Gawar says yes, she disappears. Cheyenne finds herself back in her original world, where she's 29 years old. She has decided to find Gawar on her own. She searches for him, only to find out he's abroad. Meanwhile, her friends organize a reunion, inviting many people to a location near their school, the same viewpoint where she had once shared moments with Gawar. There, she spots Gawar, who tells her, "Why does it feel like I've been here with you before?" Cheyenne understands exactly what this feeling means. They've known each other for centuries, not as strangers, but as a couple who were never rejected. Their friends are overjoyed to see them reunited as a couple. And with that, the story comes to a close. Thank you for watching. Stay connected, and goodbye.